Welcome back, everyone. Hi, if you're new, my name is Tori, and today I'm going to take you guys through all of the books that I read in the month of January. So the first book I read in January was a novella, and that is To Be Taught If Fortunate, and this is by Becky Chambers. And this is Becky Chambers' standalone novella after the final book in the Wayfarers trilogy was published. This was great. It took me a while after I finished it, especially because of the ending. It took me a while to really figure out how I felt about this, but the longer it sits with me, the more I'm thinking, yeah, this was pretty good. I think where Becky Chambers' strength really lies in her writing is pulling humanity themes out of her work. So I just think that came across really strongly in this novella. In this novella, we're following a crew of 4 people who have been sent to kind of survey 4 different planets that are about 28 years away from Earth. And so as they're doing their research and doing their jobs, I'm not going to spoil it, but something happens on Earth that kind of shakes things up a little bit. And so the crew is not only trying to do their jobs now on each of these individual planets, but they're also curious now about the things that are happening back home on Earth. Each part of this novella is broken into a different planet that the crew goes to visit. And so we're getting the novella, though, from the perspective of one of the crew members, who is the engineer Ariadne. And this novella is kind of told in the form of a report that Ariadne is writing back home to Earth in the hopes that someone is still down here and listening and still receiving their messages. So this was beautiful. I really enjoyed this, and I love just being back in Becky Chambers' writing and experiencing her writing all over again. I still need to finish the Wayfarer series, but it will happen soon. But I love the way she handles her characters and just the situations in her novels. So really enjoyed this. I've been seeing a lot of mixed reviews about this going around, but I'm glad I finally picked it up for myself, and it was really worth it. So the next book that I read in January was Astrophysics for People in a Hurry, and this is by Neil deGrasse Tyson. And this is such a cute, I was not going to say cute, but it was like on the tip of my tongue. This is such a concise and kind of compact look at the universe and so many of the questions that we have probably had over the years about the universe and galaxies and our place in the world. And I love the way Neil deGrasse Tyson approaches so many different topics in here. So of course he was in here writing about a lot of those questions that we have had, but he also gets into the nitty-gritty science of everything naturally. So, there's like dark matter and energy and discussions like that happening in here, but it's done in such a very conversational and very accessible way. I mean, the description in here talks about how he brings the universe down to us, but reading through it, you truly feel like that. It feels like almost like having coffee with a friend and discussing like all these really grand ideas in the universe. I really enjoyed this. And I actually listened to Neil deGrasse Tyson's podcast pretty occasionally, not like frequently or anything, but I already had a sense of just how funny and witty he was, but it really comes across in his writing, and just some of the situations that he discusses in here made me kind of laugh out loud in some moments. So I really enjoyed this, and this was just such a really eye-opening and really profound and grand look at our universe and just how small we really are. There's definitely some existential crisis type moments in here as you read through it, but I really enjoyed this. So this was another great read for January. The next book I read was Annihilation, and this is by Jeff Vandermeer, and this is the first book in the Southern Reach trilogy. I really, really, really enjoyed this, you guys. This was so weird. So in this book, we're following a group of female scientists, and the book is told from the perspective of the biologist in the group. And they venture into this abandoned area known as Area X. And before them, though, there have been 11 other expeditions to go into this area, but they have all come back or not come back at all, and just not their right minds. And some expeditions have all just killed each other off. And so we're following this group of scientists in the 12th expedition, and they venture in this closed off area, and things just get weird. It really starts to take a mental and emotional toll on them as they survey this area and not only try to find out some of the things that maybe have happened to the previous expeditions, but they are, at this point, they're really just trying to make it out of here in one piece because this area is really starting to take a toll on them. I really love the way this was told. It really creeps up on you in some places because it just gets really strange in some parts, but overall, this was another great read. And I actually have seen the movie with Natalie Portman. I thought that was really great. And it's interesting because in the film, I think they have names in the movie, but in the book that like no one has a name. They're all just, that's like part of the rules for the expedition is that nobody is named. So that was an interesting change. Yeah, this was really great. And I think I am going to continue on with the rest of the series because I really like the way that this ended. If you've been sitting on this for a while like I have, I think this is definitely worth checking out. And then the last novella that I read this month was The Hunting of Tramcar 015, and this was by P.J. Lee Clark. This was so good. This was another one that I picked up. I've had this for a while and I was just like, it's small, like why not? And I was seriously hooked from the first few pages, and once the whole problem and premise was presented, this was so good. So this takes place in Cairo, in an alternate Cairo in 1912, and we're following two investigators as they basically try to get to the bottom of why one of the tram cars in the station is haunted essentially, and it attacks women, and it's a lot happening in here. So we're following these two investigators as they really go through, it feels like a really long journey in a sense. They're going to all these different places in Cairo, making all these inquiries about what people may or may not know about this haunting, and it's really fun. I really enjoyed this, and this whole investigation is happening against the backdrop of women's suffrage during this time, and it was really, really good. This was extremely entertaining, very well written, and I'm really looking forward to reading more of P.J. Lee Clark's work. He's also written The Black God's Drums, and now I'm really interested to pick that up after reading this. This was a surprise. So now we're going to get into the larger books that I read. We're getting out of the novellas and the small works. So the other books that I'm going to put my coffee down. So the other books that I read in January, these were actually books 1 and 2 of the year, and that is Thunderhead, which is the second book in the Arc of a Scythe trilogy, and The Toll, which is the third and final book in the Arc of a Scythe trilogy. I am not going to go into these books. Again, I've spoken about Arc of a Scythe so many times now on my channel. I will leave a link to my full Arc of a Scythe trilogy review, completely spoiler free, in the description box for you to check out. But overall, I've really loved this trilogy. Books 1 and 2 were, in my opinion, just amazing. Loved Thunderhead so much. And then The Toll, it was good. I did have a lot of issues though with, especially the pacing in the middle was a bit slow, and it just felt like so many things in the air and so many loose threads that Neil Shusterman was trying to wrap up. And yeah, it had a little bit of pacing issues in the third one, but overall this was a really great trilogy that I enjoyed. So if you want to see the full review and hear my full thoughts on it, I will leave a link down below. Oh my god, this next one, it was a huge surprise, and that's The Girl with All the Gifts, and this is by M.R. Carey. I really enjoyed this. I just feel like I don't have any expectations when I pick up books anymore. I feel like I keep saying that, but it's like, it's so true. I don't know. Is that cynical? I'm not like excited to pick up anything right now. I'm just kind of like, oh yeah, I want to read that, but I'm not like, oh my god, I want to read that. So I mean, The Girl with All the Gifts was definitely one of those moments. I picked it up and was just blown away by it. I really enjoyed this. This is not your average zombie novel. I think in a sea of media where zombies have just oversaturated everything, I think this really sets itself apart. And that's a lot coming from me because my favorite show of all time is The Walking Dead. So this is obviously a post-apocalyptic novel, zombies in it, but it's in this world where this virus is spreading and it is infecting people. And instead of being called zombies, they actually call them hungries. And so we're following the book from a couple of different characters, but our main one is a 10-year-old girl named Melanie. And she has been contained in this military type research base or bunker. And, you know, she just kind of lives her life in there along with a lot of other children who have been infected with this virus. And so, you know, these kids, they're going to classes and things like that. And one of the other main characters in this story is a teacher named Mrs. Justineau. And Melanie and Miss Justineau, they form a really unique relationship. And something happens that I'm not gonna I'm not spoiling anything, but something happens where a handful of characters need to leave this research, this military base, and they're kind of thrust together at the end of the world, essentially. And it's so interesting, I think, the dynamics that are in here, because it's like, on the one hand, I don't know, there's just so many, I think, great themes in here about humanity and what it means to be human, because Melanie, she's technically a zombie, a hungry, or a monster. And she's one of the sweetest people like ever. She's so intelligent and so aware of the world and of people, and it's just so kind. And so her character, in contrast to some of the adults that are around her who may seem a little monstrous themselves in the things that they say and do and think, I think is so amazing. So I really enjoyed this. I highly recommend it. And yeah, this was really great. And then finally, you guys, a book that I absolutely loved this month. It will be really funny if we go through the whole year and then this ends up in my top 10, because I feel very, very strongly about it right now. And that is The Traitor, Cormorant, and this is by Seth Dickinson. Thank you so much to everyone who thought that I would really love this and who expressed that, and people who reached out to me on IG and like expressed your love for this book. You made me so excited to read this. And this was fantastic. I seriously don't even think I know exactly where to start with this book, but I'm going to try. So we're following this character, Baru Cormorant, and the book starts when she is a child. And when she's a child, her small island, is invaded by the Empire of Masks. And it's so interesting because already in the very beginning, my expectations of this book were just really shattered. The Empire of Masks, when they come to this island, it's not like this forceful, aggressive conquering. It is so sneaky. And it's like they spread through her island like poison almost. They take jobs at some of the stalls. They take positions in some of the schools. And it's like they're really like infiltrating quietly. It's almost kind of creepy if you look at it like that. But that quiet, cunning, sneaky invasion, it kind of sets the tone for the rest of the novel. And so we're following Baru through all of this. She kind of gets pulled into the world of the Empire of Masks when she's really young. And so she still harbors that hatred for them and what they did to her family and her island and her people. And so as she grows up and she starts working in service of the Empire, she never forgets what they did to her. And so every decision that she makes and basically everything that she does is she has in mind this end goal where she wants to work her way up high enough to get back at them. Baru is an amazing character. Can we just have a moment of silence? I loved this character so much. I love how just kind of out the gate, how assertive she was and how attentive she is and observant she is at everything, and she's not a pushover. You know, I see that so much when I'm reading, and this was just so refreshing. The way some people speak to her in some situations, you think that she might kind of just take it and not say anything, but she fires right back. And the position that Baru is put in, that the Empire assigns her to, that position really allows her kind of some crazy control over one of the regions in this land. And the way she handles that power and the way that she maneuvers through kind of the politics of everything is so good. A lot of the conversations in here have to do with like strategic plans and politics and all this kind of stuff. And I will admit, there were a couple of moments in here where those conversations like went over my head. I was like, okay, wait, who's this person? Who's this character? Why do they want control over this? So there were some situations like that, but you know what? Everything smooths itself out. That's all that matters. You got to keep reading. So this was great. Thank you again to everybody who was like, I love this book. You might love this book too. I did. So thank you. So that is it for me, you guys. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Let me know down in the comments what you guys read and loved in January, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.